With this flamenco guitar lesson, we'll show you how to strum a 12-bar flamenco-style progression in any key, along with guitar tabs, chord diagrams, and practice rhythm tracks. We'll cover it all with the step-by-step approach. Now, to play a flamenco-style rhythm in any key, you need to use different bar chord shapes in order to make a flamenco progression movable. So we're going to start with the key of D minor, using a bar D minor chord along the 5th fret position. So with the left hand, the fretting hand, taken care of, now we focus with the strumming hand and the strum pattern. For a flamenco strum pattern, we do not use a pick. We're going to use our fingers. Most notably, our nails will be striking the strings. You do not need long nails because we'll be using the front of the nails to strum the strings. So most notably, the first finger on the down strum and the front of the thumbnail on the up strum. It's almost as if you're holding a guitar pick. The thumb is sort of a support for that first finger on the down strum. And the specific strum pattern we'll apply to this D minor chord is going to be down, up, up, up. And there's some muting in between, or a partial rest in between these strums. You got the down, up, and then you kind of just rest the hand against the strings. I tend to hit with the nails. It provides somewhat of a percussive kind of feel there. Now, if you look at the tab, you'll see that there are different amounts of strings, different numbers of strings on each strum. One suggested way to do it, it doesn't have to be like this, but maybe you emphasize the lower register of strings, especially the bass note on the initial down. And then when you brush up with the thumb, maybe just brushing the higher strings with the lighter strum. That's one option to do it. As long as you have the down, up, 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 you've got the basic strum pattern down. And for this 12-bar progression we're going to do in D minor, bars 1 through 4 will be all on D minor. So let's play 4 consecutive bars just to get warmed up. 1, 2, ready, go. For bar 5, we'll shift to a G minor chord. That's along the 3rd fret position, barring along that 3rd fret. In fact, if you haven't done this transition before from D minor to G minor, think about barring along the 5th fret for D minor, shifting down 2 frets, but we have a different chord voicing or different shape for G minor. I refer to this as a 6-string minor chord shape. And for the D minor, since the 5th string is the bass note, that's what I would call a 5-string minor chord shape. So as we shift to G minor, we'll play the same strum pattern. And G minor is played for 2 bars, bars 5 and 6. And then we'll go back to D minor for bars 7 and 8. So let's put those together, starting with bar 5 on the G minor. And with that, let's put together bars 1 through 8. We're going to do that in the next clip. And we'll play through it 2 consecutive times. And a quick review of the running order: 4 bars of D minor, 2 bars of G minor, and then back to D minor 2 times. For bar 9, we will go to an A major chord voicing, another bar chord along the 5th fret. A good way to fall into that, bar 9, with the A major, is to go to the previous chord The last chord we played, which was bar 8, that's D minor. You keep the bar along that 5th fret position. It's just a matter of going from D minor to A major, shifting the shape down 1 string. So if you haven't done that, it's a good idea to do a 1 strum. And for bar 9, we play A only for 1 bar, and then we're going to immediately shift bar 10 down to G minor. And so putting those two together, and then down to G minor, and then back to D minor for bar 11. So the transitions are occurring a little bit quicker now. It's 1 bar each for bars 9 through 11. Let's run through those 3 chords again. And that sets us up for the 12th bar, where we're going to play a turnaround. For the turnaround, we're going to use an A7th chord voicing, another bar chord, pretty much the same thing as A major, except you lift the pinky finger. So real good idea, because there's only one note that differentiates between A major and the A7th. So make sure you have the right finger strength to play an arpeggio like this. And that way you can hear that 7th chord is an off-center sounding chord, and when you use it on the 12th bar turnaround, it creates a sense of drama or tension that revs up or leads into the next verse. And so, speaking of the drama or tension, we're going to change the strum pattern as well. In this case, for A7th, it'll be all down strums. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So we've got 1 bar of each chord for bars 9 through 12. Let's review that maybe a couple times. Bars 9 through 12, starting with the A major. 1, 2, ready, go. And let's do one more. Next, we'll put together all of verse 1, which will be bars 1 through 12. And a couple of notes before we do that. Number 1, if you are relatively new to switching bar chords, you need to make sure that the right fingers are placed down or lifted for each chord, because between these bar, minor, major, and 7th chords, there's really only one note that differentiates between each chord, but that one note affects the overall tone or mood of the chord. We already talked about the A7th to make sure that you get clarity from that 4th string when you lift the pinky. That'll give you an off-center sound. But also, a lot of beginners tend to, when they go from A major to G minor, they forget to lift the 2 finger to make that a minor chord. You don't want to play 2 consecutive major chords for bars 9 and 10. It's A major to G minor. And with that, a quick run through of the progression for bars 1 through 12. It'll be D minor 4 times, G minor 2 times, back to D minor 2 times, then A, G minor, D minor, and then the A7 turnaround. And we'll review bars 1 through 12 in the next clip. We'll go through that progression twice. verse 2, bars 1 through 11 will be played the same as they were for verse 1. The only difference will be on what we do on bar 12 for the turnaround. And in bar 12 of verse 2, we'll end the progression. So it's the ending, which is just taking the D minor chord and giving it a 1 strum and letting it ring or sustain. It's a good idea to put that together as far as rehearsing. Maybe taking the last 4 bars of verse 2, which will be bars 9 through 12, A major, G minor, D minor, and then D minor again with the sustained strum. Let's rehearse that right now, starting with A major. 1, 2, ready, go. And we'll walk through it one more time. 1, 2, ready, go. Next, we'll put it all together, combining verses 1 and 2 for a 24-bar progression. Verse 1, 12 bars, that ends with a turnaround. Verse 2, 12 bars, that ends with the ending. One note before we go to that next clip, there's a transition we haven't talked about yet, and that is connecting the end of verse 1, which is the turnaround, the A7 turnaround, to the beginning of verse 2, which is the D minor chord. You got to be kind of quick on that transition. One thing that'll help, if you just think that both chords are along the 5th fret position, but after that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, there is sort of an empty count there that allows you to get back to D minor quicker, so you can land right on that first beat of verse 2. But you want to get back to D minor pretty quick to keep things at an even tempo. So maybe we'll rehearse that a couple times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, down, up, up, up. And we'll do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, down, up, up, up. And with that, we'll review again, connecting verses 1 and 2 together for a 24-bar progression in the next clip. Now, once you have the progression in D minor down, the good news is that this progression is movable. In other words, you can shift up or down to certain fret positions to play in different keys. All you have to know is the name of the first chord. So the opening chord was D minor, what we did earlier. What if we shifted down 2 frets? D minor, D flat minor, C minor. You could do the same progression. Frets are a little bit farther apart, but this progression would be C minor, F minor, C minor, G major, F minor, C minor, G7. So what we'll do in the next clip is we'll do a 24-bar progression, 2 verses, and this one will be in the key of C minor. Now in theory you can play this movable progression in any key. However, as you move higher up the fretboard, as the frets get closer together, the strings get a little thinner sounding, it just won't work too high up on the fretboard. Also, you can't go too low either. Say for example B flat minor, starting along the first fret, well, you can't go down 2 frets to the next chord. So what I would say up to this point, we have one progression that covers 6 potential keys. And it works starting along the 2nd fret with B minor. And then as we move up B, C, C sharp or D flat, D minor, E flat minor, and E minor. It's probably as high as you can go to have it sound pretty decent with a progression. One note on the B minor, the key of B minor, that would be a fun one to practice because when you go down 2 frets, you actually go to an open E minor chord. But what we need to do in order to cover every key is we're going to need to learn a different progression, and that's what we're going to do in the next part of this lesson. We're going to cover the other 6 keys because there are 12 total minor keys to work with flamenco progressions, and we're halfway there. Our next progression will be in the key of G minor. So we'll start with that same G minor chord voicing that we did earlier. And the first shift to bar 5 will be to C minor. And that's using the same minor chord shape that we did with D minor. It's just 2 frets lower. So the key to this progression in G minor for the beginning, for the first 8 bars, is that our first finger remains aligned along the 3rd fret position. So it's good to do a little 1 strum to warm up. And it'll be the same strum pattern. So let's review bars 1 through 8 of this progression in G minor. Here we go from the top. 1, 2, ready, go. For bar 9, we'll introduce a new chord shape to the progression, and that'll be a D7th chord. And for this chord voicing, we focus just on the middle 4 strings. And the key to bar 9, again, if we go back to the bar just before that, bar 8, which is G minor, if you note, watch the 3rd finger on my fretting hand, it doesn't move at all when we do that transition to D7. So good idea to maybe walk through that with a 1 strum approach a couple of times. And the progression will be 1 bar of D7 for bar 9, then back to C minor. So again, we're kind of keeping that first finger aligned along the 3rd fret position the whole time. D7, C minor, G minor for bar 11. And since we have some quick chord changes 1 bar at a time, let's review those 3 chords with the strum. 1, 2, ready, go. Maybe one more time. Note when I go to that D7, 3rd finger doesn't move at all, keeps the fretting hand steady and in position. One more time with those 3 chords. And then for the turnaround, we'll go back to the D7. So again, 3rd finger doesn't move, and we'll apply that same staccato-like strum we did with the previous progression. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Now you could actually make it an 8 count, but if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you got to be really quick to get back to the G minor. So I like the 7 count. 4 plus 3 gives you that 1 beat to get back when it comes time to repeat the progression. So let's put together bars 9 through 12, get acclimated to throwing in that turnaround, starting with the D7 for bar 9. And we'll do it one more more time, and we don't have to shift the chord shape. So we already know from our previous progression, we'll go back to repeat bars 1 through 11 for verse 2. The only difference will be, again, for verse 2, we throw in the ending, and the ending will be the root chord, or the 1 chord, which will be G minor. So if we were to put together bars 9 through 12 of verse 2, that'll be D7, C minor, G minor, stay on G minor, and give it a sustained strum. So let's rehearse that. Bars 9 through 12, verse 2. And we'll do that one more time. And what we'll do in the next clip, we will connect verses 1 and 2 in this G minor progression. So we'll play 24 bars. Again, verse 1 ends with a turnaround, verse 2 ends with the ending, and we'll review it all in the next clip. Like the previous progression, this one is also movable, meaning you can play it in different keys. It's just a matter of shifting up or down the fretboard. And what we'll do next is we'll play the same progression higher up the fretboard in the key of B flat minor. Now, if you want, maybe you can pause the video and see if you can figure out on your own where to play B flat minor. Otherwise, we're going to show you right now. And starting with G minor, just count up the chromatic scale: G, G sharp, A sharp, B, and if we flatten B, we go lower. So A sharp, B flat, same key, and here are the changes, and we got that 7th chord. So those are the 3 chords we're going to use. Same thing as G minor. In the next clip, we'll do 2 verses, 24 total bars, again in the key of B flat minor. Just like the previous movable progression, this one won't cover all 12 keys. In fact, if we started along the 1st fret, we could play there. That would be F minor, key of F sharp minor, G sharp, A minor, B flat minor, maybe B minor. Once you get to C, it gets a little thin sounding. So maybe 1 or 2 extra keys compared to the previous one. But for argument's sake, let's say we can play 6 keys comfortably with the 2nd progression, and then the other 6 keys were covered with the previous progression. So to put it together, 2 movable progressions cover all 12 keys. And now you can practice any key you want. In addition to that, if you want to give your fingers more of a workout, you can extend the progressions. It doesn't have to be 2 verses. Simply keep playing a turnaround on bar 12, and you can play any progression in any key as long as you want.